Hey everyone, my name is Wes, and welcome back to another episode of Terror Talk where I discuss creepy clips online. I created this original horror music to add to the video, and I hope you enjoy it. Be sure to leave your own comments, and when you're done watching, check the description if you'd like to listen to my music without the commentary. Now let's get into it and have some fun.
I'm a terrible long-distance driver. I just wanted to put that out there to begin with, because my inexperience really shows. I almost never drive more than 30 minutes at a time, but for work, I had to make a 10-hour drive from my small hometown of Brawley all the way up to San Francisco, where our main office was.
Are you a terrible long-distance driver? I think I would be because, like the person in this video, I really don't drive more than 30 minutes at a time. What about you? I like to ask these questions because it gets me to know people better. It engages my viewership. So that's why I ask these questions. But let me know in the comments if you like to drive for more than 30 minutes or if you hate it, because I personally hate it.
I'd been with the company for less than 6 months, working remotely, so this was my first time making this drive. Unfortunately, the way there wasn't through the beautiful California coastal highway either. It takes the lesser-used highway on the opposite edge of the state, going through the empty deserts and smaller cities for the most part. Again, I'd never taken this route before, so this was all new to me. I set up my GPS and started driving at 6 p.m. This would be so that I could hopefully make it right at check-in time at the hotel, which was 3 p.m. the next day. The first hour of the drive was through my town, and it slowly dwindled down to just a few buildings here and there, and eventually nothing. There also weren't really any other cars. About 3 hours in, I passed a gas station, and it reminded me to check on my tank. I looked at the meter and noticed it was getting close to running out. Actually, it was really close to running out. Driving for this long on a boring empty road made me space out and not pay attention to it. I figured I was good enough to wait until the next gas station though. So for the next 20 minutes, I had my eyes open for any gas station exits. But as every mile passed with no gas station, I started to worry. That feeling of dread came over me for being so stupid to have let myself get this low on gas in the...
Yeah, that's a really bad feeling, isn't it? When you're driving long distance and you realize that, oh crap, like, I'm nearly out of gas. Like, you really need to be more vigilant than this if you're gonna take a long distance road trip. And I don't know, for me, I think I wouldn't wait for it to get past the last white tick on the meter thing if I was taking a 10-hour road trip. Like, in general, I like to wait till it gets to the last red tick. Then when it's around there, then I go get gas, because I don't really drive any more than, even 20 minutes at a time, really. There's just no need for me to. But, yeah, I just think that, you really have to stay aware of where your gas is at when you're making these long road trips, because nothing would be a worse feeling than running out of gas in the middle of nowhere.
The middle of a desert. I could feel my car start to jerk randomly and stutter, so I knew this was really bad. Just as I was thinking that my car was going to shut off at any second, I saw someone's headlights on the side of the road. It looked like a police car monitoring the highway, so with pretty much no choice, I pulled off onto the shoulder and parked a little ways behind them. I was hoping they had a gas canister I could use. I got out and started walking up to their car. It had a spotlight by the driver's side mirror and a light bar on the roof, so from behind, it looked exactly like a police car. But as I got closer, I wasn't so sure. Either way, I needed help, and by now I assumed they had to have seen me walking up anyway. When I got up to the side of the car, it was clearly a police car, but not one in service. Like probably an old one that someone had bought after the police markings and other stuff were removed. When I got up to the window though, nobody was inside, but it didn't look abandoned either. The inside looked relatively clean, and there was even a grocery bag on the passenger seat with what looked like food and snacks in it. Something about this was really off though. I looked up and out at the surrounding desert. It was really dark, mostly empty aside from some stray cactus.
Yeah, that would be pretty weird, wouldn't it? I mean, a stray cop car that doesn't look like it's even in service with food and snacks inside it, like, that's pretty weird. What would you do in this situation? I don't know. I don't know what I would do because it's kind of a tricky situation because you're stranded out there in the middle of the desert. You have no other options. And if this is a sketchy or shady character, then you might need to take a fight or flight response kind of thing. But, you know, I think I would call the police at this point. Like, even though this is a cop car, I think I would call the police. That's just what I would do. And if someone came at me, I would just haul it out there in the desert and try to find some place to hide if I could.
But it only took me a second to notice something moving out there. They were pretty far from the road, so I couldn't tell what they were doing, but there was definitely a person out there moving around. Knowing this wasn't going to go the way I expected, I was going to go back to my car and try to call 911 or maybe roadside assistance, but the figure suddenly stopped moving and stood still. It was like they had noticed me and were suddenly looking over. I didn't know what to do, so I kind of just stood there. Then the person started rushing toward the road. I took this opportunity to run back to my car. The man must have been full-on sprinting though, because by the time I was in my driver's seat, they were already at the road. They stood by their car and stared at me, and I could now see their face in my headlights. They had short black hair and a black beard, with dirt and sand covering their entire body, from their shoes all the way up to their face. I couldn't tell if he looked mad or what, but he stood like a deer in headlights, as if waiting for me to either drive away or get out. I was too scared to try starting my car, because if it stuttered and he heard that, then he'd know I was stuck. So I sat there and just tried over and over to call 911. By the time I finally got through, the man had gotten in his car, and a minute later, he drove away, leaving his headlights off and disappearing down the road. As for afterward, an officer made it 30 minutes later and poured a few gallons of gas in my car. I told them about the man who was acting really suspicious and was out in the desert, but he mostly brushed it off and didn't even check on it. He even joked that he was burying a body out there and acted like it was nothing. I was so shaken up though that I didn't put up much of a fight and just continued my drive. It's been a while since this all took place, but I can't stop thinking about what that man was doing out there, or possibly how close I was to discovering something.
Yeah, I think that's pretty crazy. Because that person, one, has a cop car, and like, what the hell is he doing covered in sand? Like, you know, is he a sandman or something? But, like, seriously, maybe he was burying a body out there in the desert, and it is kind of strange that the real police officer would joke around about that. Because if he was burying a body in the desert, That's even more creepy. And I think that he made a good decision. The the guy that was in the story, I think they made a good decision to not turn on the car when he was staring at it, because if it did stutter, that would indicate that he was stuck, and who knows what they would have done otherwise. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that the person was burying something out in the desert? Because that sure is what it sounds like to me, honestly. And if that's the case, then that is like super creepy that they got away if there's some kind of serial killer or something like that. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. But overall, I thought this was a really creepy story. And I hope you enjoyed the commentary and my music. And I will see you in the next video.